Is up, everybody? You know who it is. It is your allies behind enemy lines, Ryan and Joey coming at you, thoroughly behind enemy lines in Cowboys territory, holding it down for all our Washington football fans. I'm here in Dallas holding it down. Joey is down in Austin holding it down for us there. Make sure you check us out anywhere you can find your podcast: Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on Spotify. You can find us on Facebook at Allies Behind Enemy Lines Podcast. Find us on Twitter at AlliesBEL. In the bio of our Twitter is all of our links, so you can click there. And again, find us anywhere you want to find your podcast. On our Facebook page, we have the link to our dopest shirt. I don't think either of us are wearing it today. I'm wearing my Division Champions shirt.
Well, I'm wearing my Chase Young throwover jersey.
So go ahead and go check it out there. It's so you can represent for your favorite Washington football team podcast based out of Texas, holding it down for all our allies out there. Joey, it's been a couple weeks since we last talked. Last week got a little crazy. My kid was turning 1. We had a birthday party. We had that whole thing going on. So we weren't able to record. Plus, there wasn't a whole lot going on. So I think it was an okay week to miss. But we're back here live. We're live here on YouTube. We're live on Twitch. Hopefully, we have some people here tagging along watching the live show. We have fun doing that. A lot of different energy than just recording, just you and I. But how's everything going, man? How we doing?
It has been a crazy last 2 weeks. We haven't been here. But as you said, you had your first, happy birthday to your son who, did turn 1 last week. But I had a lot of stuff to say last week, and I hope that I can remember to say it. I'm gonna remember the things I was gonna say. No, I'm just kidding. I'm doing all right though, bud. It's been good. Enjoying the summer, and it's been hot. It's been getting crazy hot out here. We're getting those heat index warnings already in Texas. It's early to be getting those heat index warnings. Usually those come late July, early August. So it's gonna be a scorcher out here. So. Remember I talked about that? I think I talked about that baby pool a few weeks ago. I've become like a baby pool expert in the last 2 weeks. I went and bought a balancing kit for the pH levels and all the chlorine levels, and I've been monitoring. And it's just like a weird little thing. It's weird the things we fill our time with. But so I got the perfectly balanced kids pool back there that you got to get a 50 block a pound of ice and drop in there because it just gets too hot being out here. So that's if you want to get on it.
Yeah.
It doubles as a hot tub, basically.
I was just about to say, yeah, it's like a little kitty jacuzzi, I'm sure, out there. But that's cool.
When the kids start farting in there and the bubbles go up, then you really got a little kid jacuzzi going on.
You got some jets going. That's awesome. That's hilarious. But so I mean, getting right into it. Not a whole lot of news and notes going on around Washington football. The team, obviously, we're going through training camp, mini camp, that whole grind of the summer. First thing I wanted to mention, you can bring up some of the stuff that you said you wanted to talk about last week. Is it was reported by Pro Football Talk that the NFL teams can start wearing throwback helmets with their throwback uniforms. Now, unfortunately for us, I don't think any of those are in play. But I wanted to bring up and kind of talk to you, and maybe if we have anybody out there in the chat right now, their favorite throwback logos. I know what mine is. I brought along a couple props. I see one back there, and you're right behind you of one that I was going to bring up. This one was the one that we had in the 70s, the old school yellow R. With the obviously the Native American feather here, so I don't think we can use that. But this is one of the ones that I love. I really enjoyed. I like the yellow helmet. It's for something to change it up. One of those logos that I like. Yeah, there you go. As you adjust the camera,
there we go. You can see it right
there. See
the
helmet back there. That's perfect. But one of those logos that I enjoy seeing on the field from time to time. I don't know about you, but again, that's one of my favorites. Not my number one, but one of mine. What are some of your favorites throwbacks that we have? We only have a couple to choose from, but again, it's always fun to talk about and go over.
I mean, obviously we couldn't do anything related to the old name. So it does throw a little bit of a kink into a lot of our plans there if we wanted to go any of the throwback jerseys. But I think if we did that yellow, and I think someone put a picture of just having the W in the circle with the same color scheme would be really cool. And I mean, other than that, I don't know what other ones you could really do other than just a solid dark, the solid dark colors of the maybe just like a darker burgundy helmet with the darker burgundy jerseys, and stuff like that, maybe with the numbers on them. But that's about all I can really see you really doing as far as our throwback jerseys. But around the NFL, I mean, it's gonna be great to see some of the old Patriot, old Tampa Bay, old Chargers. All the other teams get to enjoy those spoils a lot more than we do. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, no, for sure. Probably my number one favorite is the spear logo. They
Mm,
wore that way back when they brought it back a little bit in the early 2000s. Those were by far my favorite. I thought maybe we might be able to incorporate a little something like that, if we became the Washington Warriors or something of the sorts, because it is very reminiscent of the Florida State spear that they use for the
mm,
Seminoles. They have a similar logo to it, but that is hands down my favorite uniform set, the darker burgundy with the
mm-hmm.
gold pants. It just kind of pops, and the logo, it keeps it real simple on the side of the helmet. That's been my favorite so far. Again, I don't think we can get away with that, unfortunately. Again, I don't really understand why, because there are teams that use similar insignias, but as we try to distance ourselves away from any Native American imagery or anything like that, that's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles. One other logo, this is kind of the Joe Gibbs logo, in my opinion, that I really enjoy. But again, since we don't use this name anymore, I don't think we can use it. But the script R. I mean, it's just so clean, so dope, so just like it's like a fresh, I don't know, real, like it's a real classic looking. So that's another one that I wanted to bring along, kind of show that I wish we could find a way to use that. I don't know if we can turn that into a W somehow or what, without it looking too much like the Walgreens W or the Washington Nationals, the baseball team out there. But again, that's a logo that I really really enjoy. Just as far, not even as far as uniform, just apparel and sideline gear and things like that. But again, it's cool news, like you said, for the NFL. There's going to be some really dope ones. But unfortunately, we're gonna be the redheaded stepchild. No offense to any redheads out there or stepchildren out there. But we're gonna be left out in the cold, left out in the rain, and just have to rock what we rock. And again, as we're turning over a new leaf, as we're
Uh-huh.
turning over starting over bringing in a new culture, a new team, everything like that. It's just not in the cards for us this year, or I guess I should say next year, because that's when it begins, 2022.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. This will be our throwback. This will be our throwback. The ones we're rocking right now will be our throwbacks in about 10, 15 years. But other than that, maybe I don't know if it's just the rule allowing old ones, but if teams like us that have old ones that are like offensive, well, I guess we're the only team that's like that. Like, can we have a new? Can we have a new one? Like, can we make a new well, what about this one? These all darks or something like that. So I think as long as they keep rocking with the solid whites, give us a white helmet somehow. That'd be awesome. Give us a white helmet to go with the solid whites. I think that'd be really slick. So I'm looking for a lot more white schemed stuff to go along with our all whites, which I think a lot of us are taking on as our lucky uniform. So let's go there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It doesn't have to necessarily be a throwback. Just an alternate helmet would be dope to kind of incorporate, and especially, I mean, at that point too, if we do have a different team name, if we're still the Washington football team, and it's going to be in 2022. It's just that they can use alternate helmets now. It doesn't have to necessarily be a throwback. So yeah, we could bring in a yellow helmet. We could bring in a white helmet. We could have a couple different changes there. Maybe do a faux back, not necessarily a throwback, but a faux back, where, like you said, the yellow helmet with the W on it, whatever it may be. So there are some options. I do like maybe a white with a yellow and burgundy stripe down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Burgundy and gold stripe down the middle, something of the sorts. And again, depending on what our team name is at that point, there could be some cool concepts there. I do want to bring back the gold pants. I love the gold pants, but I guess we'll wait to see when that time comes. But that was just kind of something I wanted to mention.
Those gold pants just remind me of Kirk Cousins throwing interceptions for some reason. I don't know what it is about those gold pants. They remind me of Kirk Cousins. I don't know if they became more predominant, or you know what I mean, when he was our quarterback, but they just remind me of Kirk Cousins letting me down with an interception late.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, because that's when Mike Shanahan's the one that brought him back, those gold pants. So I can't totally disagree with you, unfortunately. But I do love the gold pants; they do pop. But the all whites are becoming icy. That was the kind of term that we used last season during the playoff run, during that little hot streak, was iced out with the white. So I mean, if we went full stormtrooper and went, like you said, white head to toe, white helmet, white jersey, white pants, that could be a cool look and a fresh look. Not meaning cool, but just like new, a fresh new look. That would be pretty dope. Going
Incorporate and
stormtrooper.
stormtrooper. That's a great name for the defense, man. Can we some stormtroopers? Can we troop through some storms?
Yeah, but with the accuracy issues, stormtroopers not the best shots. I don't know if you really want to, if that's something you want to.
They just keep coming. They just keep coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
No matter how many you knock off, it's like they're breeding back there, like rabbits behind the door. They just keep sending them out, send out more of those stormtroopers. So
I do like that. Yeah.
that's how our defense is going to be, man. Just INIS and Cameron Curl, just keep sending them out.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. The next thing I wanted to bring up, smooth transition here, is Antonio Gibson again, also talking to Pro Football Talk. Shout out to them, Mike Florio, he does a great job, him and Chris Sims. But they wrote a brief article on Antonio Gibson, and Antonio Gibson said that he's like, look, man, I'm gonna be able to showcase a lot more of what I can do, and I think this league is gonna have to take notice of what I can do. If you remember correctly, I mean, and most people do, if you are a Washington football team fan, he was a slot receiver coming out of Memphis. He played a little bit of running back, but his main primary position was a slot running back, or excuse me, a slot wide receiver, and we turned him into a running back. He rushed for over 700 yards last season, caught for, I want to say, over 300 yards in 14 games. You know, he missed a couple of games with injury there. Obviously has the big 3 touchdown game against the Cowboys where he's out there showing off his grill. But he said, he's like, look, man, I'm going to be able to show teams a lot of new stuff. I'm going to be able to show the Washington football team a lot of stuff too. And coming into this year, I think we see 1,000 yards on the ground from Antonio Gibson. Easy. I think it's an easy 1,000 yards for him on the ground. And maybe he adds another 300 or 400 yards receiving, maybe even a 500-yard receiving season. Who knows? But I think the goal should be to get that rack, get that 1,000 yards on the ground. And if we can do that with Antonio Gibson, I think things are rolling in the right direction, especially with as many weapons as we have downfield. It's going to open up the running game for us a lot.
Yeah, and he's a man that just saying those things. I know a lot of people say that at the beginning of the year and offseason. Oh, I'm next year. I'm coming back. I'm going to see something you've never seen before. But I mean, he walked that walk all of last year for those Washington football fans and people that watched his progression. I remember early on in the season, having a lot of issues of just making a decision and cut. Doing a lot of dancing before he'd go. You saw that growth in him throughout the year as he was learning to become better. And I just we forget. Even just knowing that he did great last year and we were like really high on him as the year went out. Just looking at highlights that people were talking about us, of some of his runs last year, and obviously a lot of them against Dallas. He was tearing through that defense and running exactly how we want you to run as a running back. Make a decision and go. So him saying that does mean a lot, as we did see that progression, and I think it's going to be easy. A lot of those games early in last season, if you do recall, we fell behind pretty quick. Arizona, the Rams, Detroit, where the running game, in the first half of the season, we had to run away from and steer away from just to try to stay in the game. So he didn't get a lot of opportunity. I think if those games were more balanced, as we saw them as the year went on, our games became more balanced. I think he easily would have got 1,000 yards last year. So I don't think that's too high. I don't think I think he should aim for more than that. Obviously, I think adding the receiving goal yardage total on top of that would be a great way to expand his ability to be a 3-down back and his perception as a 3-down back, because he's still left off a lot of those conversations as one of the great backs in the NFL. And I think that the league is going to be in for a rude awakening when he just comes out and starts stacking those stats this year. Fantasy owners beware.
Oh yeah, no, he's definitely high on he was high on my draft board last year. I had him in every league except for one league. Or maybe two leagues.
Late round though, he was like a 5th or 6th. Nobody wanted him. It was like that first round where where nobody else, like more than everybody else because he's your team. It's like that one round. Yeah. It's like time to grab him before somebody else does.
Yeah. So 170 rushes for almost 800 yards. He ran for 795 yards, 11 touchdowns, 36 catches for almost 250 yards. So I think, like you said, and that was, again, in 14 games. So I think 1,000 yards is definitely attainable. Maybe we see 1,500. That might be, a higher goal of 1,500 yards on the ground, especially if we're doing well, if we're ahead early in games. And he just can kind of be the closer for us and ice the game, just turn those legs, run after run after run. And again, too, he doesn't have to do this all on his own. We do have a good running back room as a whole, but for him to be the premier guy and be that 3-down back, that true 3-down back, would be great. It's to have that guy that you can go to when you just got to bleed the clock and he can get some yards and like I said, just really shut down teams and shut down the game early and start packing up on the sidelines, start that bus for the other team and send them home.
Heck yeah, it's gonna be good to be able to have that balance and and not people know what the game plan can be specifically for each game. And it's and just the dynamics of our backs. I know we're gonna get into that a little bit, but just the dynamic of our backfield. You don't know. We got two guys in McKissick and Antonio Gibson who obviously can catch out of the backfield. So it not to mention what Gibson can do between the tackles. So it's just gonna add another level of dynamic if he can show himself to be that 3-down back. And before we go any further real fast, I want to give a shout out to my man DJ Udi Sound, who is here. He is hosting this stream on his Twitch channel as well. So we're also live on his channel. Well, great DJ. If you ever hit him a follow, if you're watching right now, he puts great mixes together throughout the week. So shout out to my man Udi Sound, another Washington football team fan in the house.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Appreciate that share, bud. Thank you. Shifting gears here on this, you said you had a couple things you wanted to get off your chest. So let's go ahead and open the floor to hashtag Joey's thoughts.
Joey's thoughts. I know. Well, mine was just really centered around, again, I think it's going to kind of lead into a lot what we were talking about. And what a lot of us are thinking about are these position battles that we're talking about throughout the training camp. And this is my first marker, and I guess it's a perception, is always when I get the Madden. For those who don't know, obviously I play Madden a lot. The Madden beta for Madden 22 dropped last week. And that basically what that is, advanced copy for some games. Codes went out there to be able to kind of look at the game. The first thing I always go and do is go to the franchise mode and look at the Washington football team roster and who they see, who they project as our starting lineup, just based upon Madden. Because you got a lot of analysts behind the scenes. So that's kind of one of the biggest things I wanted to think about is who they have, starting at through our positions. A lot of them are going to be obvious. I will do this. I'll just go through you, and I'll see who you think. We'll start with quarterback. Who do they have as quarterback?
Fitz.
Okay, they got Fitzpatrick. You're right. Running back.
Gibson.
Okay, wide receivers.
Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel.
Just two.
Yeah, those two.
Yeah. All right, and then tight end.
Logan Thomas.
Okay, center.
Chase Roulier.
Okay, right guard.
Brandon Scherf.
Left guard.
Wes Schweitzer.
Oh, Eric Flowers. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
All right. Left tackle.
Charles Leno.
Okay, and right tackle.
Sam Cosmi.
Nope. I forgot about we even signed this guy. The name is made. I was like, oh yeah, we got that guy.
Not Sadiq Charles.
No.
A guy we signed. Who did we sign? Shoot, I don't know. Who did we?
He's not related. He's not related to Sterling or Shannon.
David Sharp.
There we go.
Wow, starting right tackle.
Okay. So there we go. So let's flip it over to the defensive side of the ball. And let's start off with, obviously we're playing a 4-3 defense. So
4-3.
4 linemen. All right, so I want to start off on the left side.
I'll just go across the board. Chase Young, Montez, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen.
Good job. All right, now the 3 linebackers. Middle linebacker.
Jamin, right?
Nope.
Oh, they have Cole Holcomb there?
Yep.
Okay. They have Jamin playing the strong side?
Left outside linebacker. Or right outside linebacker. Right outside linebacker. And then left.
John Bostic?
Nope.
The other linebacker.
Another pickup free agent acquisition. Another one that I totally forgot about. Totally like, oh yeah, that guy. Wait, what do you like on your sandwiches?
David Mayo. David Mayo.
There you go. So
wow.
Mayo. All right.
Interesting.
Okay, and so who do we have at our safeties? Let's start with strong safety.
Strong safety. Do they have Landon Collins there?
Yep.
And then Cam Curl.
Nope.
Cam Curl?
Nope.
What? They don't have Cam Curl starting?
Another free agency acquisition.
Free agency acquisition at safety?
We love to call him Mini Chase Young at times.
Oh, yeah. Why can't I think of his name? From Miami.
Bobby McKay.
Bobby McKay, yeah.
Bobby McKay. All right, and so corners.
It's obviously Kendall, Fuller, and William Jackson.
Okay, slot corner. Let's throw in an extra slot.
St. Juice?
No, Jimmy Moreland.
Jimmy Moreland, okay. Interesting, because Jimmy Moreland's like, he's got to be ranked, or he's got to be rated like a 71 or something, right? I mean, his rating.
I think St. Juice wins that job personally, but I don't think it's a snapshot from a while back.
Wow, I can't believe Madden doesn't have Cameron Curl starting at safety. Cameron Curl is going to be a starting safety. I don't care who it is.
Oh, I mean, yeah, well, we're gonna have to see. I mean, it's funny because I didn't say slot receiver either. Who would be your slot receiver?
Um, um, Humphreys.
Yeah, and guess who they had returning kicks for us?
Dad's. I mean, excuse me. Fucking from Dimey Brown.
Nope.
Ooh, running back or wide receiver?
Wide receiver. I think this is just a
Oh,
copy and paste.
not Steven Sims.
Yeah, they did have Steven Sims.
Fuck no! Get him out of here. That guy can't catch. He can't catch.
All right, so there we go. But that's kind of like what I wanted to go over. Just again, it adds to that conversation of kind of like what we think and what other people are thinking, and what obviously the thoughts going into camp. And I don't know if they just pick names off a list, but I mean, what process goes behind that. But like I said last year, I mean, it was confusing to us. If you remember, and I was like, they have Kendall Fuller as our starting free safety, and we're both like, ha, that's ridiculous. He's a cornerback. They made a mistake. And sure enough, when the season started, he was our starting free safety. So I mean, so I guess we can put a little bit of weight, can lean a little bit of weight towards this.
Yeah, that's wild to me. I mean, Jeremy Reeves, I don't think he's a starter just yet, even though he did great at safety for us last year. So I agree with that. But I mean, unless Landon Collins just plays absolutely out of his mind, I just don't know how he's a starter, other than the fact that it's just like, hey, we're paying this guy the most, so we got to put him on the field. Because I mean, he's been booty cheeks when he's healthy. He can't even stay healthy. I think we've talked about numerous times him being that sub linebacker, a guy playing a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. Somebody that can cover tight ends because he's got the speed and the size. But he's just. And it's crazy to me because I think of, like, sometimes when I think of Landon Collins, I think he's been in the league like 10, 12 years. Like, he's been in the league like 5 or 6 years. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why, but I just feel like Landon Collins, he's just been one of those guys that's been around forever. And I think he's like 28, 29. Like, he's my age. You know what I mean? I think of him being like this old guy. And it's just, it's at this point, it's like, buddy, like, you got to show us something. You got to produce. Because, if you're I feel like I think I've said this before on the show. This is kind of like his last dance, like his last straw. Like, if he can't perform here, he might find himself out of the league, or he might find himself released and being a backup somewhere. But that's interesting that I just feel so strongly that I think Cam Curl he's kind of the Chase Young of the secondary, in the sense that, like, he's going to bring that energy. He's going to bring that kind of swag. He's going to bring that hard hit. Like, somebody goes across the middle and he lays somebody out, or he deflects a pass, like, everyone's going to rally around him. He's going to kind of be that leader, even at such a young age, a 7th round pick that's come out of nowhere and just played his absolute balls off. Maybe Landon Collins does start the season as as a strong safety. And he just, if he's cheeks again, then it's like, hey, by game 3 or 4, you're out and Cam Curl's in.
I think and it does go to speak a lot about a lot of the evaluations we've read, and a lot of how the praise. It's not like they don't love Cameron Curl and know his abilities. It's just that maybe he is more, as we want Landon Collins to be this more hybridish type linebacker, and maybe they view Cameron Curl more as that person that can be that hybrid person and move him around a little bit more. That like, we played big nickel so much, in that 4-3. It's such an easy transition, and I think that Cameron Curl is the perfect type of player. So is Landon. So we're kind of forcing Landon Collins in that box, but in reality, Cameron Curl might be that guy that can just run around. And you talk about him having the ability. As long as Landon. But the only thing that worries me about that is Landon Collins, whether he is that guy or not, he tries to be that guy, and he tries to be the guy that runs and jumps and makes plays, and sometimes will leave his zones and leave his his man coverage, just thinking he's predicting a play, and then we get burned either with swing passes over his head or deep. So that's the thing that worries me about that. But I mean, if you're able to free up a defense where you got athletes, again, so many pure athletes, like we're talking about, Jamin Davis and Cameron Curl, to run around and make plays, or whether it be Landon Collins, then I think that we're in a good spot either way. So knowing that it's not that we're cutting him, just knowing that he's on our team and he's gonna play a huge part of that defense is, and Madden's gonna find out. I guarantee you, the tale will be told by the end of the season, but who has the higher rating and when.
Yeah. I do need to know one question. Do you have that full Washington roster in front of you, or just the starters?
Just to start, I mean, I dug through it a little bit. If you wanted to, I mean, it has a lot of people on there, so it's not like it's a smooth 53.
Was Troy Apke on there?
Yes,
Fuck, damn
but he's still out there. He's still. I mean, he's still. There's been no movement on Troy Apke, and I think that it's a lot of these guys that the free agents obviously aren't going to be in there, but we did have a fullback in there. I forgot his name, but I was like, man, because we didn't have a fullback last year, and we had a fullback in the game the year before, but I never saw him on the team. His name was Elijah Wellman. I don't know if does that name ring a bell to you? Obviously not, because he was never on our team. But so there was a fullback, so it'd be interesting to see if we actually carry a fullback this year, which I don't think we actually will.
The last fullback I remember is Mike Sellers and who was it? Daryl Young? Was that his name? Daryl Young?
Yeah, Daryl Young. Yep.
Yeah. Those are the last two fullbacks I remember. I think those were the Shanahan days too.
Yeah. And before that, we have a few standouts. Obviously, what was his name? Cooley was a fullback morph to a tight end, and Frank Wycheck. Remember, he was with us first before he made the
Ryan Anderson.
Ryan Anderson. He played definitely a lot more fullback than he played right end, I think. So.
Yeah, that's for sure. That is for sure. But yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. We'll see. I guess that'll kind of, like you said, that leads perfectly into what we're going to talk about here, and that's position battles. And there's another article written by none other than Zach Selby. Shout out. I mean, this guy want to talk about working and grinding. This guy is Zach Selby. You go on the Washington football team website and it is all his articles. Maybe we get him on. I'm going to have to reach out to him. I'm going to have to see if I can get him on, because this guy does fantastic work. I'm a big fan of his stuff. I read at least 3 to 4, maybe even 5 articles a week from him. And I hate reading articles. It doesn't matter. Like, give me the too long didn't read version. That's what I like. But his stuff is yeah, exactly. I'm like your stereotypical millennial that scrolls on their phone. Like, if it's longer than 240 characters in a tweet, then I'm out. But he does some really good stuff. Him and obviously JP Finley does a lot of good stuff. He's kind of shifted more into media than writing. But so he does this kind of series called #Pick6. And this week it was the X factors and position competition. And so what it is he has people writing questions on Twitter and he answers them along with sometimes other writers and things like that. And he gives a lot of fun insights. So, he starts out by talking about obviously the new talent that we've added and how we've really kind of transformed this roster into what it is now, and how there is so much depth and so many different spots that we do have depth at now. And there's not really a hole where it's like, well, man, if this starter goes out, like, we're screwed. So I want to go over a couple of these. We'll talk about his article, but then I wanted us to answer a couple of the questions and kind of give our take on it too. So if I put you on the spot here, Joey, I apologize now. But the first question is, what is the biggest X factor on the offensive side of the ball for the Washington football team? First, I'll give Zach's answer, and he said the obvious question would be Ryan Fitzpatrick. If he plays well, the rest of the team plays well. But the real answer he wanted to give, or that he did give, is Logan Thomas. He said he's set to take another step in his second season as the number 1 tight end. And Zach says that of all the best offenses in the league, at least a couple or all of them have at least a capable tight end, and he thinks that Logan Thomas is far superior than just a capable tight end. He can be a full playmaker. So I ask you, Joey, who do you think is the biggest X factor on the offensive side of the ball?
I think it's going to be more. I think we know what we got in Logan Thomas. I think that by the end of the last year, I don't think he's going to be the one that as long as he does well, I think that he's going to do well. So that's almost, it's going to be par for the course. I think it's going to be that support for Terry McLaurin. I think it's going to be that Curtis Samuel, that outside wide receiver. What's he bring to the team? I think he's going to be the one that's going to be getting those throws. A lot of the throws that Logan Thomas were getting last year, I think a lot of it's going to fall onto Curtis Samuel, and he's going to bring a whole other level to because someone can beat you deep, someone can beat you across the middle. Let's get the ball in the sand. Someone can beat you in a reverse. All kinds of different things. So I think that, he's the definition of the word X factor, I think, when you bring something like that to your offense.
I could not agree more. Everything you said and laid out is exactly what I was going to say and exactly what I agree. And one of the things, too, that Selby said about Logan Thomas was that he might not have as good of numbers as he had last year, or might not have better numbers than he had last year, but he can still be that X factor because of all the other guys that we have around him now too, like McLaurin, like Curtis Samuel, like Adam Humphries, Antonio Gibson. The list goes on of all these weapons we have. Diami Brown, adding him into the mix. But as far as my opinion of X factor, I totally 100% agree with what you said in Curtis Samuel, and for all the reasons you said. He can beat you vertically, he can beat you horizontally, he can beat you, running backwards, he can beat whatever way you can be beat, he can find a way to do it. And I hope that we are able to see that, and that he can stay healthy, and then we can see kind of the dominating playmaker that he can be. And this is not me just hyping up a guy because he's on our team. Like, we saw it firsthand against us. We saw it firsthand against many other teams where he had games where maybe he had 3 catches for 45 yards, but then he added 10 rushes for 115 yards or something of the sorts like that. Like, he can play anywhere you get the ball in his hands, and he's a playmaker. And like you said, the definition of an X factor when it comes to handling the football. So great answer there, not just because it's the same answer as mine, but it was indeed a great answer. Next question was, who will be the biggest surprise roster make and the biggest roster cut? Zach said that he wasn't going to predict anybody to be cut from the roster, just out of respect. Big J journalist move there by Zach. But he said an under the radar guy who could make the roster is Dax Milne. I know for my personal interests, I hope he sticks around so that his sister's Instagram sticks around. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go back there.
Jesus.
But it was already an inside joke. It was kind of teed up. I just wanted to put it out there. So he says Dax Milne, and he says that he was one of the final picks of the draft, obviously, but so was a guy we just talked extensively about, Cam Curl. So who for you, Joey, would you say is going to be a surprise make? And if you want to give a surprise cut, go ahead and give that too.
Well, I think a surprise make is going to be Jared Patterson. I think the running back. I think that all the talk and all the hype, and obviously the cosign from Chase Young helps a lot too, and I'm sure that really helped him boost his confidence and able to have the confidence to perform at the level he wanted to perform at, and and plus getting a cosign like that, it pushes you to even want to even exceed that. So I think that's someone that's gonna sneak up and be knock somebody out, and then then with that I think you're gonna get a surprise cut, obviously, because I don't think he's penciled in. I think you have other guys. You got a deep running back room there. You got Gibson, McKissick. You got Peyton Barber. And so, isn't there another guy, or is that it? I mean, if not, then maybe
there's a couple other fellas in there, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's someone that you can. We do. I think we got rid of the other guy that I was talking about before. But yeah. So I mean, we could see Peyton Barber get cut. I mean, that could be a surprise cut right there. Or as you said earlier in the show, someone Troy Apke. I think that would be someone that it would be a surprise just because of his experience with us. But just like the guys, like out of respect, but I think out of respect from Ron's decisions. I think last year he did a great job of getting people out of there that didn't need to be there. I think that you guys that are there right now, it's people that are competing, and unfortunately, you're going to have only 53 guys. So an honorable mention there might be our Samus Reyes, but I don't know how good he's been. We haven't heard a lot more since his initial hype, but I think that Jared Patterson is going to be my solid, sneaking on the roster. I would love to see another late round pick like Max Kilney do the same thing, but or Dax. I said Dax Kilney. Yeah. But
Milne.
So well, he's gonna be killing it. So he's gonna be killing it. So I already know his nickname is gonna be Kilney. So come on, let's find out.
No, I actually like that Jarrett Patterson pick as well. That he's the guy that I had my eye on as soon as we signed him in a free agency. I texted you and said, "Hey, check this dude out. He ran for like 1,500 yards in one game and like 27 touchdowns." And it was impressive.
Like Madden numbers.
Yeah, literally. So I love that. One guy we forgot to mention at the running back, Lamar Miller, somebody that we brought in late last year.
So yeah.
So no, a surprise make. I don't want to give all the same answers here because Jarrett Patterson was the guy that I would like to see make the team. And so maybe I'll go with the guy that I've been hyping up, another late round pick, another guy that I'm excited to see in Shaka Toney. I don't know if it'll be a surprise if he makes it, but he is a guy that I want to see again, a late round pick, a guy that can come in and fill a couple of holes for us and be a a good backup, a good what am I looking for? Rotation guy and things like that. So again, another late round pick. You had Jarrett Patterson, who was an undrafted free agent. I think the only undrafted free agent we brought in after the draft. And so my surprise make will be Shaka Tony, even though I won't be super surprised if he does make the team. Surprise cut. I think I'm gonna go to the wide receiver room and maybe a Kelvin Harmon because he hasn't been healthy. Obviously, Steven Sims, I think, falls in that category as well. Somebody that we would not, we don't like to see guys get cut, but we would kind of prefer that he wasn't on the team. We'll say it that way. So I'll throw in those two names as far as maybe even Antonio Gandy Golden is another guy that might be a surprise cut. So I think I'm looking at the wide receiver room for some surprise cuts there.
Yeah, I mean, I like to liken it to something that Jim Ross, a famous Oklahoma Sooner fan, obviously one thing, but a wrestling personality always says, and having to make decisions to cut wrestlers from from roster. He always says the one thing: if someone's good, but they're not good enough, he's like, go learn a new hold. So go learn a new hold and come back. Something like that for someone like Steven Sims. Go learn a new hold. Go catch on somewhere else. I'm not saying have a kick this guy. The unemployment line doesn't belong in the NFL. But just right now, he needs to go out there and work on some things to be able to make an impact on a different team. So just go learn a new hold, those guys. I'm not wishing anything bad on y'all.
100% agree. So this next question we can kind of breeze through because we talked a lot about it. And there was, with the addition of McCain and Collins coming back into the mix, what type of roles do you see Cam Curl playing? And we kind of talked about it. He can be that backup strong safety. He can possibly be that big nickel corner, that sub linebacker kind of position. I think we both agreed there. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I mean, it could be all. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great defense. I mean, it's so the pieces are just there. I mean, again, I've said it before in so many different shows. I hate talking about our defense because it's just so. Right now we got people thinking about this is going to be the best defense in the NFL. So I'm like, let's calm this chatter. I don't want over expectations to start hitting us in. But yeah, it's going to be. I mean, our defense is looking solid, man.
It's a catch-22 because it's like you said, I don't want to be overhyped, but at the same time, it's like, holy shit, people are outside of Washington are talking about us and talking about us being at the top of the list for something good. Like,
I mean, and they're talking about
me up for that.
And they're talking about 85 Bears, and then that starts, Ron Rivera's rebuilding his 85 Bears, and it's, and like I said, or like you said, it's every position is a name now, and a name that's gonna be a name. Now we're fighting with people to get on the field, not get them off the field. It's like we need to have 14 guys on there. Before it's like, who can we find to get out there that's any good? So it's now we have the luxury of having to be able to have so many people we have to choose to whittle down to. So it's a good thing.
Yep. No, agree. This next one might be a little tougher for us to talk about, but we'll go ahead and throw it out there. If anybody has the chat has anything to add to this. This fellow asks, will John Bates be just a blocker like a Donnie Warren in the early Joe Gibbs years? Shout out. Obviously, this guy's a little bit older. Or is John Bates actually going to be given a chance to catch the ball? And according to Zach Selby, he said, he's like, look, he's all in on John Bates. He says he is an exceptional blocker, according to his former Boise State teammates, but he's also an underrated pass catcher. So this is a pick that both you and I criticized at the time, where it's like, there was other guys that could be picked at this spot. There was other tight ends that could be picked at this spot, and we went with John Bates. And so he said he's not going to repeat how Todd McShay gave some praise to John Bates, but he said the tight end coach from Boise State said that Bates is as good as coming down with a contested catch as just about anybody. He's not going to be the number one, but because obviously that role is going to go to Logan Thomas. But he said he's probably going to be a great option number 2 at tight end. And we've talked about here how teams that run 21 personnel or are able to get 2 tight ends on the field have great success scoring touchdowns, getting first downs, just accumulating yards in general. So if he is an exceptional pass catcher or an above average pass catcher, not just a Jeremy Sprinkle blocker type, that could bode even better for this offense that we're talking about, all these weapons. Now look, now we have 2 tight ends to go along with it. Holy crap
indeed. And I don't want to get it be fooled here. Donnie Warren was a bomb. I remember him as a child. I mean, back then he didn't like I said, he was part of those hogs. You might as well just slap a hog title on him. But at that time, we had Clint Didier, who would be the pass catching tight end and one of the first great ones for our Washington football team. And so if you look at it that way, all that Donnie Warren had to do was block, and when the ball was thrown to him, it was rare, but he caught it. You know what I mean? Because he was open, and that's all we're going to ask for this guy to do as well. So we already have the dynamic guy that's at tight end university right now with George Kittle and all those cats and crazy Travis Kelce out there saying let's go 1,000 times every 5 seconds. Woo! Let's go! But Logan Thomas is out there, so he's already one of the 40 tight ends in the NFL. He's already going to take that step as being elite. So we just need some guys. We need a Robin right now, and I think we have a great Robin coming up. That it's a Batman in training. I don't want to call him a Robin. Let's just call him Batman in training for a year. Let's call him Batman in training.
Batman Jr. or something like that. Batboy.
Yeah. Batboy.
Next one we got is, obviously Jamin Davis, we talked about, he can play all three linebacker positions, but which one do you think would help the team most? Zach says that he thinks middle linebacker is probably the one that he feels he can help the most at. But he also said it also depends on how much information he can retain and learn in training camp and mini camp, because he is athletic enough to play all three positions. He is smart enough to play all three positions, but it's like, which one is he best at? Apparently Madden thinks he'll play that strong side linebacker. I would prefer him playing that middle linebacker spot because he can drop back in coverage. There's not going to be balls going over his head over the middle. And he can still blitz. He can set that's the other thing too. He can set the edge on the outside spots. Do we really need any extra help on setting the edge? Probably not, but yeah, it's nice to have another extra hand out there. But I say middle linebacker for Jamin Davis. What do you say?
I mean, we weren't talking about getting a left outside linebacker last year. We weren't talking about getting a new right outside linebacker last year. We're talking about we need a middle linebacker. That's what we were saying. That's what we were preaching. That's what we need.
Yeah. Simple, cut and dry. I love it. Absolutely right. Finally here for the last pick six. Again, we kind of talked about this here. And so this person asks, who do you feel will be Antonio Gibson's backup? And Zach says he doesn't really feel like there will be a specific backup role. He said it'll likely be similar to last year where we saw, a committee approach to this position, and that's probably what makes most sense. J.D. McKissick doing a great job catching the ball in the backfield, Peyton Barber being that short yardage guy. But I think Jarrett Patterson, this is my opinion, not what Selby's saying, that I think Jarrett Patterson could be that bowling ball, bust by guys, because he has great power where he can run through you. But if he gets in the open field, he can run by you too. He can make guys miss. He can run away from guys. He's not going to be that guy that gets around you. He's going to be that guy that goes right through you and then runs away from you. So I think Jarrett Patterson could be that type of guy. But as far as a true blue backup, if it's me, again, we want Antonio Gibson to be that 3-down back. I would say it's probably going to be J.D. McKissick.
J.D. McKissick, I mean, I almost look at our backs as just two different, almost as two groups of backs. Because if you got J.D. McKissick and I think Jarrett Patterson fall into that smaller, quicker type back, even though the Jarrett Patterson can run the ball between the tackles, has shown that. And I almost look at it as almost a reflection of, as Antonio Gibson is Lamar Miller in his early years. Lamar Miller was that versatile 3-down back, someone that can get the ball, run it, and catch it out of the backfield. So I think Lamar Miller is someone that can step up and, plug and play back up Antonio Gibson. So if we're just talking about being able to plug and play someone that can run through the tackles and catch the ball in the backfield, I think Lamar Miller does make a good case there. It just depends on how healthy he is.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is how healthy is he. But
that makes the most sense. Obviously, I think as far as on paper, but we'll see what it means on game speed on field.
Yeah. No, agree. Well, that's all I have for today. I don't know if you had anything else to add. I feel like we covered a lot there. Some, a lot of good info coming at you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Just it's we know we're in a holding pattern. We're waiting, obviously to start a training camp next month. It's actually a few weeks away now. It's not even a month, but 3 or 4 weeks, and get that ball rolling and see, exactly what we have here. It's a big pivotal year that, like I said, I don't remember a team being talked about. I mean, obviously we had a good year with the RG3. I think there was hype behind him, but obviously no one knew what he was going to do, what he did beforehand. So I think we have an expectation now that we haven't had in a long time, and it feels good. It feels good to be proud to be a fan. It feels good to be proud to be excited for a season. And as football fans, and I think I've talked about this before, we don't, obviously there's going to be 31 people unhappy, 31 fan bases unhappy at the end of the season. But all we want from our team is to give us these moments throughout the year, like these moments I talk about back here. We can point to it right here on the Heineke one. All we want is for our team to give us moments just like that. And this team is full of players, I think, that can give us those type of moments. And so that, more than anything else, as long as you got, credible people in the race, you got a chance. And we got credible people in the race.
I know that's right. We got plenty of dudes to just offer that electricity, those exciting moments, like you said. And I can't wait. I'm ready for it to begin now. Washington opens up as the second favorites at plus 200 to win the division. Obviously, the Cowboys are first since they're getting Dak Prescott back and arguably have the best quarterback in the division in a quarterback-heavy league. So you can't really knock that. We'll see how they actually end up faring because that defense still stinks, in my opinion. So they're gonna have to score 40 points a game still to win a ball game, much like we saw at the beginning of the season last year. And Washington is a much more balanced team across the board. And so I think it'll be a 2-dog race for that division title. But
I think it's gonna be a 2-dog race too. I think the Giants are better than the Cowboys. I thought it last year. You agreed with me last year that even at 0-3, the Giants were the best team in the division, and then they're getting back Saquon Barkley. I think that they had the same question mark that we have, which is quarterback play, and Daniel Jones. I saw an interview with him early this morning, and I guess the talk of him is he's gotten really buff. He came back swole from the off season, but with him it's just eliminating turnovers. So I think that goes the same thing with Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I mean, I think it's gonna be a 2-dog race on which quarterback makes the least mistakes. So I think Dak Prescott, like you said, is gonna score, throw for 300 yards a couple times, and I think they're gonna lose 47-49 to a lot of teams because they didn't address that secondary position. I think they overly addressed I think they got overly embarrassed by our running game on national TV on the most watched football game of last year. So Jerry Jones said, let's go get me a ton of linebackers. It's a ton of them. We're never getting run on like that again. But what about, no, linebackers. I don't care about safety or corners. We'll get Keanu O'Neal and possibly Malik Hooker in free agency, but they haven't got the other one yet. But we'll see.
I'm looking up the Giants' backup quarterback right now. Who
number 2? I saw him wearing number 2 running around with him in the video today. I was trying to think about it too. I was all, they didn't pick up Joe Flacco was in Philadelphia. I want to say they picked up somebody like the guy. What was that guy's name that the Bears thought their quarterback was a few years ago?
That's exactly who it is. Yep.
Mike
Long
Lennon?
neck.
Mike Lennon, yep. I would say that's exactly okay. Good job, Mr. Joey. Hey, I got that old mind as I get older, player.
Yeah. So if Daniel Jones starts turning over the ball, then it's Mike Glennon's job to do it. But I mean, obviously the wide receiver group is a lot better for Washington, for the Giants.
We have the best backup. I mean, the best 2 quarterback situation in the division. Some will argue Flacco and Hurts, but Heineke and Fitzpatrick. Those guys can make an action movie. I would watch an action movie starring Fitzpatrick and Heineke as the 2 guys, like going out there and just like kicking ass and like taking names. I think both those guys could pull off those roles.
Yeah, apparently to Heineke, you talk about guys coming in buff. Heineke's put on some size too to kind of eliminate the injury possibility. He's coming in jacked, which obviously we love to see that. So maybe he could transition to an action star with Fitzpatrick being the Danny Glover and him being the young Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson, yeah. I've seen a lot of comparisons being drawn. I think who was it that compared him to obviously Kurt Warner. A lot of people want to say the Kurt Warner story, but just in his ability, and Tony Romo. And I see so much more in him. I see a young Brett Favre that can move. Brett Favre didn't move around a lot when he was young. He had that cannon arm, but he didn't move. I think it's almost like a Taysom Hill that could throw. It's I see so much more in Heineke, and I think that the job is going to end up being his before too long. We talk about position battles. It's going to be known. Heineke.
Yeah,
Heineke.
Good old Heineke. Right on. Well, that's all I got. I don't know. Is there anybody in the chat that's hollering at us, asking any questions or anything?
Well, we can save those questions for off the video so that we give people a reason to come watch us live. That way you can ask some questions, get some feedback here. Well, obviously, if you drop some in our chat, we'll give you the digital answer, you know. But we wanted the live action answer and interact with us. You guys come see it here, so you can go ahead and sign us off.
You are a genius. A genius, Joey, I tell you. All right, well, that'll do it for us here. We are your allies behind enemy lines. Again, make sure you check us out anywhere you can find your podcast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can also find us on SoundCloud, all by searching Allies Behind Enemy Lines. We're on YouTube, Allies Behind Enemy Lines. Make sure you hit subscribe and ring that notification bell so when we do go live, you can check us out and come join the chat as well. We're on Facebook, Allies Behind Enemy Lines Podcast, and on Twitter at AlliesBEL. That's all information below here that you should be able to find. No problem. Until next week, thanks for coming along. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You guys have a great weekend and a great week. We will see y'all next Friday.